With the relatively recent release of the Sakura Regime update, around 24 new pals have been added, which means it's time to update my pal decks. I just want to quick say that this video was supposed to come out much sooner, but I was moving so I didn't have internet for a while. Videos should become a bit more regular now, and yeah, I hope you enjoy. Previously the count was around 139, so we'll start with that number. As soon as I spawned into the world, and I mean genuinely immediately, the new meteorite event occurred and it allowed me to catch a Xenovator, which is the first brand new pal of the video. And by fast traveling to the island with the Mud boss and just going north, we're able to reach the new island. After a very short travel, I'm able to encounter a Shroomer, which showed me that I don't have enough pal spheres for this, or at least not enough high quality ones. I did end up catching him, and I had my Belle Noire deal with the other one. I returned to the island again with some better spheres, and since it was nighttime, I was able to catch a Shroomer Noct, which took way more pal spheres than it should have. Thankfully though, not all of the pals on the island are going to be as hard of catches. Like this Lulu I found taking a nap. Back to the difficult catches, I encounter a Bushi Noct, and after a little bit of dedication, I end up catching it. In the distance there's some Wixen Noct, and if you can't tell by now, the process for catching pals is going to involve a lot of bullets. After my Jetstragon eviscerates the remaining Wixen, I run over to the cliffside and I catch a Kojiro. Next we run into a Quivern Baton, and it thankfully doesn't put up too much resistance. And following that, I spot a little guy. Now if you've ever seen any of these little guys, you'll know they are very fast, especially on servers where it's kind of laggy. So I made a very complicated trap to catch the Mimog easily. I decided to stop using flight to explore, and after landing to hop on a different mount, I caught a Dogen. Nearby there were some Grillet Ignis, which is a little disappointing to see that it's not named Grillet, but I guess the naming theme with the variants does have to be pretty consistent, so it's not too much of an upset. I ran out of the good spheres I had, but I got lucky with the 2% sphere that I managed to catch it with. Later on, I spotted a Dogen taking a Yakumo on a walk, so I obviously abducted the Yakumo and dealt with the Dogen. Deciding to take a break from all the grass areas, I took to the southern desert and went back to flying around. I then spotted a Gordy Rat Terra, and then I saw a Kick-It just as I was about to leave. Once again, not too far from there was a Dazemu, or Dazemu, whichever one it is, which after a little bit of persuasion, didn't attempt to flee. Since I couldn't find anything new, I went to the northern desert and spotted a Hellzephyr Lux, which looks amazing by the way. I also caught a Pixter right after. Once it became nighttime, I flew to the cemetery and caught a Soothseer. Around this point is where it became kind of difficult to find all the new pals. I decided to look in some dungeons to find some pals that I couldn't manage to locate, and in a dungeon on Sakurajima, I found a Catris Ignis. And at the end of the dungeon, I also got a Blazemut Ryu slab, which is good because I get a head start on that. After a very long time of waiting, finally a meteor landed and I managed to catch a Celine, which is guaranteed to be the pal that spawns in meteors as long as you're on the Sakurajima island. It took so long for me to finally get this one because I just wasn't getting any meteor events happening. But after enough patience, we were able to encounter a Xenogard. This pal alone was over half the time I spent on catching everything. I had to wait like 6 hours total or some shit of having my game open. It was way too long. And with that pal done, it's time to move on to the bosses. The first boss I took on was the Menacing Terra in the desert. It did a shocking amount of damage, honestly. It also had a decently low catch rate, which worried me for the next pal. And the last pal we're going to be catching is going to be one that's new entirely, Nocklum. Thankfully, Belle Noire Libero is really good at stun locking him, so I was able to toss a good few spheres and catch him. This leaves us with the final pal we have to obtain. This one, however, we hatch instead of catch. The new raid boss Blazemut Ryu, which is the only dragon type variant we have so far. I gave this boss a try with normal settings, and in a tiny bit over a minute, a literal minute, all my pals were dead. So I decided it was just not worth trying this on normal settings at this point. So I retried the boss with custom settings this time, and it was still really tanky, and it even kept breaking my shield pretty quickly. It had a phase 2, and the one thing that was insane to see was that it changed into an electric type during phase 2, similar to how Belle Noire Libero turned into an ice type during its phase 2. I had said this in a previous video, and I can't really explain it, but something about it's giving really like a dark electric type vibe. I might be wrong though, and I'm likely very wrong, which makes it even more insane to see it being an electric type. I did end up beating it, and if you're curious, there's a harder version of it, and the reward for beating that is this exclusive cosmetic headpiece. Obviously, people may be upset with making a challenging boss easier via artificial means like changing settings. However, I want to play Palworld for fun, and I don't want to spend dozens if not hundreds of hours getting prepared just to beat one boss. I know some people are into that, but I'm personally not. And I did catch every single pal on normal settings aside from the boss raid specifically. This brings the total pal count from 139 to 163. I hope you enjoyed, like and subscribe, and have a great rest of your day. Adios. Also, if you don't like how I did the raid pals, well, get fucked.